Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Best over here, joined by Thomas as always, and we are talking about the first thing to really hit TIFF, and it is Hayao Miyazaki's latest. We thought it was his final, but apparently he's unretiring. It
Yeah,
is The Boy and the Heron slash How Do You Live? How Do You Live is the actual title, probably, but
yeah,
both The Boy and the Heron, whatever you want to call it. New Miyazaki. Ticker on the bottom with critic aggregate rankings, in addition to our predictions and some news. We'll obviously be making videos about other things at TIFF. This isn't going to be like daily necessarily anymore, but we'll do some of the, Next Goal Wins, Dumb Money, Lee, some of
yeah.
the other bigger TIFF titles that'll be hitting over
Plus,
the
there'll
next.
still be sort of reactions to things we've already seen, but we'll see if they sort of go down, go up.
Yeah.
Because TIFF is a very different audience to the one you might expect at Venice or even Telluride, to be honest.
Right. Well, it's a lot bigger audience than Telluride.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But should be interesting. Let's get into Boy and the Heron, though, because this thing looks good. I mean, 100 Rotten Tomato, but even more impressive, an 8.4 critics average.
Yeah.
If we look at the Metacritic, an 88. Pretty incredible. The Letterboxd currently sitting at a 3.9. I mean, this is just amazing across the board.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to think this is sort of just standard for Studio Ghibli. Like, it's not the highest things we've seen from Studio Ghibli ever. It's not clearly
It's
not
actually
sort of
currently their
Miyazaki's
worst Letterboxd
magnum.
score.
Exactly, it's not Miyazaki's magnum opus by all sounds of it, but it is still apparently very, very good. All of these reviews, everyone just seems to be liking it, which is great for a festival like TIFF when you get lots of eyes on it. And if it is just sort of this people pleaser, potentially we could see it showing up in things like TIFF People's Choice towards the end. I think this is a shoe in for things like animated features, just because everyone seems to be liking it. Everyone will be talking about it. It will be a popular film as well. Like, people do love Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just seems like Miyazaki's delivered another one, which I guess is not too surprising, to be honest.
I mean, he's probably the greatest animation filmmaker of all time. Like,
Probably.
I don't think it's really that controversial to say that. Like, he's probably the GOAT of animation. And like, apparently also he's unretiring and he's gonna be coming
Yeah.
back.
Which also doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
Right. I mean, yeah, which you just get that artistic itch. People were posting that scene from Wolf of Wall Street where he's like,
Yeah.
"I fucking stay." Anyways, and like, I mean, yeah, just more Miyazaki's a good thing. Like, I mean, he's just a great filmmaker. It seems like this is hitting all the things. And honestly, I've been hearing that it is kind of a magnum opus, but it just isn't,
His best,
his
potentially.
best. But
Yeah.
like, it's just like a perfect conclusion of his themes. Like, I've heard it's like about like, him preparing for his death and how this film is a meditation and like how his work will be remembered when he dies or something like that. And like, it's just like beautiful and dealing with like these massive themes of life and death, but making it like incredibly accessible, and just not easy or simple, but just like, I know he has this brilliant ability to take these massive, like incredibly complex themes and just make them really accessible and understandable. And it seems like he's hitting all that again. Apparently it's very funny, it's beautifully animated, obviously. Like,
Yeah. I mean, all of these things we sort of saw from the trailer, like the trailer that we got a couple
yeah,
of days ago, just delivered that sort of whimsical vibe that you have come to expect from Ghibli right now. And yeah,
yeah,
like as we say, this just seems like another critically acclaimed Ghibli film, which we should just not be surprised about at this point, to be honest.
yeah. It just seems like another brilliant film, which, I don't know what else we
No,
were
I don't know.
expecting. I don't know what else we want. It's
Exactly.
interesting looking, like, just, I mean, I think it goes without saying, incredibly hyped for this film.
Yeah.
I hope it's going to Chicago Film Festival and I'll get to see it in like a couple of weeks, honestly, at this point. Because I'm really, really excited to see this. So I think it's pretty clear that we were all excited to see it. As far as awards, it's weird that this, like, potential magnum opus of Miyazaki's coming out, and it's just like we aren't even considering it to win.
Yeah, I mean, that is true, but equally when you've got something like Spider-Verse, which made however much it made, which was this sort of cultural hit at
And
the
still
time, which we're
can
talking
Spider-Verse
about.
can get Best Picture and
Exactly, we're
screenplay.
talking about this in higher categories like screenplay and even in text, which is always big. Like, if an animated film can get another text, you're basically winning the category, to be honest. I know Kubo and Two Strings, whatever, that didn't actually win,
Yeah.
did it? Yeah, but like, still, most of the time we saw Soul getting other nominations. We saw like other things like that. If you can
Encanto got song, right? Like,
Exactly. If you can get these other nominations in like even just like lower down categories like these tech categories, it just suggests that there is a sort of groundswell of support for your film. Like, no, I don't feel we win. It's also weird that we're just not even talking about it for international feature. But I mean,
well,
looking at
wasn't
like
submitted.
exactly, but looking at what Japan had this year, it's not really surprising that maybe. an animated film wasn't what they went for when you've got directors like Wim Wenders, Koreeda also making films
Exactly.
this year for you. So and Hamaguchi as well, although that was pushed. But yeah, like I think we should be talking about it for a definite nom. I think it's probably like number 2 in animated. If
It's
like
locked.
it does really well at TIFF, if it does like win people's choice, I think there is a chance that it could supplant Spider-Verse. I just think it's quite unlikely.
Well, this is the thing I want to bring up. I know this doesn't feel like a TIFF People's Choice winner. Okay, they very rarely, if ever, go for like international films. And they've never gone for an animated film,
No.
unless I'm just blanking on something. But this has the most screenings of any film. It's like the most purchased ticket at the festival, right? Like this is voted on by the public. TIFF People's Choice.
Yeah.
It is the People's Choice, which is obviously going to favor films that more people are seeing. This is by far, and it's not close, like the hottest ticket at the festival. If that's the case and everybody likes it,
Yeah.
it kind of would make sense for this to win People's Choice. I think regardless, it's going to place. It's going to place top 3. But there is a very reasonable argument looking at how positive everybody is. Again, like the 100 doesn't mean that, everybody's giving it 10 out of 10, but it means that all these critics liking it, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Everybody
it's at
likes
least like in the sort of 8-9 range, like we saw 8.8 or no 88 on Metacritic,
Yeah.
even like these are very high
I mean,
8s. These are like
this
4s,
letterbox
4.5,
curve.
5.
Look at this
Exactly.
letterbox curve.
People who are liking it are seemingly really liking it, and yeah, like
Nobody
I
is liking
agree. I agree. Animated, I think an animated film is unlikely to win TIFF's People's Choice, just on a hunch. To be honest, it just doesn't feel right. But yeah, I agree. I think it does place, just given, as you said, the number of screenings it's sold and this
Right.
reception.
But there's no reason why it can't win is the thing.
There's no reason. There is no reason other than the fact that yeah, as I say, it's just
It just
it
doesn't
doesn't feel
feel
like a
like
winner.
one of the past winners, but like,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I think it's quite fascinating. Now, people will make the argument, well, everything that's won TIFF People's Choice has gotten the Best Picture nomination, and everything except Fabelman's has won at least one Oscar.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
think. Yeah,
think that has to be the case. It
no.
is an interesting argument, though.
I mean, we were talking about. I mean, you were talking about it in
I was
potential
talking about
adapted
it.
screenplay when we still had June, when Poor Things wasn't Poor Things, when All of Us Strangers didn't exist really. So there's just no space in that category for this film, and I think without that, it's
Like,
not
it would
going to
have
get
to
any
overtake
animated.
Spider-Verse first.
Exactly, it's going to have to overtake Spider-Verse, which I think it's in itself is unlikely. Like it's doable, but
I wouldn't
then
say unlikely. I would say that Spider-Verse is 6, maybe 7, but I think it's probably 6 in adapted screenplay. It's still very
yeah,
much there, and we've seen like pretty consistently, if an animated film gets into screenplay in a year of 10,
yeah,
then it does get into Best Picture, which is why I still think that Spider-Verse should be considered in screenplay, especially if like Barbie moves to original screenplay.
yeah.
So like there's still a world, but Boy and the Heron would first have to overtake that. And I just don't know if that's going to happen. Like there have been rumors that it would be original screenplay, which would be interesting
I mean,
because
it's a weaker category. It is a
it's
weak category original.
it's apparently inspired by a book with like some of its themes, and I think like the title, How Do You Live?
Yeah.
But it takes like nothing narratively from it.
Yeah,
So
which I guess Banshees was in a similar position last year, where Banshees of Inisherin was technically a play written by Martin McDonagh, but it was unproduced, it was unfinished, whatever. So it was
right, but
just
the same
counted the
thing,
original.
Moonlight
So
went adapted though.
that is true. I mean, the Oscar like eligibility in these things are always questionable. I mean, one of the
Right.
biggest again is Barbie. We
I
just
mean,
don't know
Barbie
where
this
it's
year.
going. So, like, yeah,
Yeah.
these are always going to be up in the air things. I think if it does go original, that'd be a lot better for it. If it stays adapted, I think sadly it will just be locked into animated feature. And I think that is the most likely outcome for this film anyway,
Yeah.
whereas it does just get all sort of
Like, I could
narrative
see it making the short list for
pushed towards
score
animated.
with Joe Hisaishi and like maybe, but I haven't heard that as
Maybe.
being something that's necessarily highlighted. So
Exactly. It doesn't feel like it needs to happen, I guess.
right, that would only happen as a coattail. I
Yeah,
feel
like
if you get more.
especially with Miyazaki now announcing that this is not going to be his final film, I think it reduces the sort of urgency to give this major awards, I guess. To an
Yeah, I
extent.
suppose. Yeah, for sure. But regardless, very, very hyped. It's again, this is at least getting a nomination. It's at least
Yeah,
getting animated feature.
yeah,
Anything else, we'll see. But regardless, like I'm just excited for this movie. It just
yeah. I
seems
mean, great reviews. Yeah,
great.
Ghibli, trust them. So yeah,
Yeah, no, very
just
excited.
another great thing to come out of these festivals. Like everything's been performing, everything has been over
Everything.
even. So yeah, we're going
Yeah,
to be in
it
for a
even it
three of a full
like
film. Sort of
yeah,
document.
I mean, like Dumb Money, as we're recording this, is it's getting first reactions and they seem positive. We'll do a video on that soon. As we said, we'll have that next go wins, all all the different fall festival things coming out of TIFF, in addition to a reaction to the Venice Awards, which will be dropping tomorrow. So even more fun stuff. But until then, thank you everybody for watching. You can support the SAG and WJ strikes in the link in the description, in addition to following us on social media. And until next time, where you can check out more Fall Festival coverage and reviews. We're going to review movies again, because that will be
We
fun.
are
We haven't done that in a
finally.
while.
Yeah, yeah.
But movies are actually coming out now that we care about and want to talk about, or that I can see, because Bottoms is nowhere near me and it's annoying me, and I really want to see Bottoms, but I have to drive a lot of hours to see it. But until then, thank you everybody for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.